Hello, hello, hello. Game week 17 and 18 podcast for the Hooligan Soccer podcast. The Qooligan, other side of the holidays and Christmas. You're looking very festive.
You can't have Hooligan without a ho, ho, ho.
Or a festive Santa hat as well that you have. Very
Hey, I mean, it's the season. This is my most festive Xmas-y jersey. Right?
Like,
my Xmas-y kit.
I like how it's matching.
Do you know how hard it is to get one of these things over headphones?
Had to get to extra
It's
long.
like trying to squeeze my my melon-shaped body into a wetsuit. It ain't pretty.
You got it in there, and you're looking very festive.
Did.
Yeah.
And nobody else saw it. Most important thing of all.
So we are, 27th of December now. So the day after the Boxing Day fixtures, and
Correct.
Ran-packed with goals. And then also, well, there was the 21st of December and 22nd of December weekend as well, where there were some goals in some games, but not as many as this last game week. I mean,
I beg to differ. The only reason that the number of goals is lower is because 2 games haven't been played.
we're going to be watching them.
Oh no, we're still very much in the running.
We are absolutely going to be watching those. I mean, the question is, do we start top, middle, or bottom in terms of the Premier League and the teams? I think, we were just talking off air that, Liverpool, Mo Salah, I mean, I think that's probably the best place to start because it's just phenomenal. This guy and this team and Arnie Slots and they're running away with it.
They are. And there are not enough superlatives in any language to really describe what they're doing right now. They're dismantling other teams, and they're doing so with a calmness. And I think that's the most impressive element of how Liverpool are playing right now is just the deep sense of calm that they have. Jordan Ayew scored in the 5th minute, and it was against the run of play. He just comes in and gives a little hip check onto Robertson, gives himself some space, sneaks one in, and nobody on the Liverpool side batted an eye. Van Dijk came deflected off of his heel. Van Dijk gets up and goes, hey, because he knows the self-confidence they have is astounding. And not just astounding, but well-deserved. Even everybody watching knew, oh, yeah, well, Peter Drury goes, I think they've just poked the bear, he said. and he was right. Yeah. It was right. It took a little bit of time for the bear to strike. But that was a testament to Leicester's resilience on the defense. They did a fantastic job in the first half for about 40 minutes. 40 minutes after they scored. They did a great job of keeping Liverpool down. And then Gakpo scores, and you knew that all hell was going to break loose in the second half. And it wasn't for lack of trying. They hit the post twice, right? They hit the post twice. Their keeper, because he's their backup keeper, he made like 3 saves. They were pressuring the whole time. And you knew that it was inevitable that they were going to fall.
Yeah, you could, exactly right. And it really is the sign of champions, isn't it? When they're so confident, so composed. And as you're right, when they went 1-0 down, you knew that wasn't going to be the final result. You knew what was coming, and they just didn't panic, didn't freak out, just did what they always do, which is this high, intense pressing, which seems to be their style. And it feels this Arnie Slot style of Liverpool players. It's kind of like an older, younger version of Jurgen Klopp's real Gegenpress, right? Which was you press from the front, you have the 3 front players just get straight onto those back players and have a high press. And just as soon as Leicester got the ball, they just turn it over and give it back to Liverpool, and Liverpool would then have it in Leicester's half and just have fun with it, right? You can see they're really enjoying themselves.
I think there's a subtle difference in the way that Slot is implemented, though, because with Jurgen, the Gegenpress always seemed frantic.
Yes.
It was always
high intensity. This
high, boom, boom, always. But with Arnie, they seem to be able to relax it, almost tease the opposition into thinking they're not going to be coming at me. And then so the players seem to be responding better to it. It doesn't seem like people are always as exhausted, even middle game or even after the game. I mean, sure, they're tired. Yeah, there's that, and that I think is that's been a critical element of Liverpool's game is nobody feels that they're going to be, they get screamed at, by the gaffer at halftime for not running 120%.
Yeah.
Right. Because as long as they're implementing their role in the system, they're going to be just fine. And so that, I think, that's a very astute change by Arne to recognize that might be a team. But, again, Liverpool has so much depth too. Luis Diaz never even touched the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
He's been one of their most disruptive players around. He didn't even play.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. I mean, wow, that was, surprising. Maybe he just needed a rest.
Yeah. It's just
who knows, man?
Good management as well. You're right. They don't seem to be struggling with injuries as well, which is also it's so. And maybe this is perhaps Slot's sort of greatest sort of skill, or one of his greatest skills, the management side is again just managing the squad and the team and the rotation, keeping everyone happy. Even though there's all this sort of contract noise around, it doesn't seem it's not affecting. It's not sort of trickling down into the play. And everyone seems to be very calm, very confident. I know this squad have been there before, obviously with Klopp, and also won the Champions League as well. So they know how to win and they know how to do this. And now here we are, coming up to the halfway mark. I mean, look at this, 7 points clear and still a game in hand. So a potential 10 points clear.
Yeah.
It's not even a competition anymore. They just do not look like they're going to falter as well. I know they've had a couple of draws, but they're not losing. They're not, really.
If they were seriously going to fail, it would have been last week. Last week, I think, was one of their sternest challenges. And even then, they managed to come back, right? Or no, sorry, not last week. It was the week before. The last week against Tottenham was it was 2 weeks ago when they had to claw back.
Yeah,
when they had for that draw.
Sure.
Right. That was a whole,
that was a whole down to 10 men as well, wasn't it? That was when
correct, because that was Robertson when he got the red card, the 36th minute.
Yeah. So it's, as you say, it's I think calmness is definitely sort of the word I would use as well, and in terms of the team. But even I think the most calm on the field is the one who's doing the most, and that's Mo Salah. Right. We were just talking about
right.
He just looks so calm, so cool, so collected. And it's impressive. It really is impressive.
He's always been a player that has that gravitas coupled with almost childlike joy and love of the game. I mean, because, when he's never gets upset when he misses, he just smiles. It's like, all right, I'll get it next time. I mean, he hit the post. It was just like,
yeah,
there's a post.
I'll get another chance as well.
I'll get another chance.
Yeah.
And also just the unselfishness with which he plays too, right? Like if he's got someone else on, he gives, right? It's not, and you see that in his stats. 27 contributions, right? In all competitions, 27 contributions in 25 games. You don't get that just from goals, right? That's goals and assists. He's in double digits for both.
Yeah.
It did it all before Christmas. He's got the most double-digit goals and assists of any player in the Premier League history.
Yep.
Right?
Breaking records,
and breaking records. Breaking records. And so, I mean, I've said it before. He would be a Ballon d'Or winner if his national team was in Egypt.
Yeah, if he was,
really. No, I mean, it's like if
Salinho or something like that was his name, right? And he had
if he was Portuguese, Brazilian, German. Any of those players, he'd have a Ballon d'Or.
Yeah. Well, look, there's still sort of 10 months to go, and he's definitely making the case for it. And if Liverpool go on and win the league, have a good get to and again, you look at around Europe, like
win Champions League,
you can't. Wins the Champions League. Who else? It's really is. And especially what's interesting is the age of him as well, right? He's doing it. He looks like he's sort of. I mean, if you look at him when he takes his shirt off, I mean, he's obviously clearly an athlete as well, looks after his body completely, but he doesn't look like his legs are going to go or fade in any way. He is still sort of really, really sort of in great shape as well. So
I remember that one goal where he scored and he takes the shirt off and you just see, I mean, like he's completely like V-shaped,
just
six pack, the whole 9 yards. And you're just like, yeah, that was a reminder to the Liverpool bosses that he goes, don't, just look past the age. Look past the age.
Don't question me. Well, look, I think before this turns into a Mo Salah man crush session or man crush,
Yeah, right. No, yeah, no kidding.
But I think,
hey, Mo, give me a call. Here's my number flashing on the screen.
no, it's really incredible what he's doing. And then of course there's still even this sort of contract sort of stuff going on off the field, and you can't help but think every single week that goes on, just his negotiating position just becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And I don't get the impression he looks like he's not sort of like holding out for the big contract, because he's already got that. He's already up there. How much more on a sort of contractual level can he actually sort of get out of it? I don't think this is about the money. This is about where he wants his career and how he wants to sort of start sort of playing and where he wants to play. So I think, you were mentioning before, fair, but I agree with you that Liverpool would be absolutely idiotic to let him go, even on a free
move ever.
Yeah. So they give them. I know some clubs have this policy where players over 30, they only do 1 year contracts. Obviously, players don't like that, so they want 2. But like, give him a 2-3 year contract,
please.
And even if he does lose his legs in the next 2 years as well, like you'll be able to ship him and sell him and be able to cash in. I remember it was a few years ago, the Saudis were coming in for him and they offered big money. I think they were sort of offering 100 million. And
the Saudis will always offer big money for him. A Mo Salah type player represents
everything for them. Yeah.
Everything that they want, right? I mean, Sadio Mane, of course, practicing Muslim.
Of course.
They went to the Saudi League. But Mo Salah, really, that's it. I mean, he would be the jewel in a Saudi League crown, regardless of how he plays. Just his everything about what he represents, who he is, right?
Yeah.
It would be huge for them. That's also not to say that he may not want that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, the other way is if you
might not want that.
If you are Mo Salah, though, like, where would you go? What would be better than where you are right now? Real Madrid, Barcelona, nothing. I wouldn't go there.
Nothing.
I'd say the only one would be, for me, would be you go to Saudi, and then you take the money, or you go to PSG or something like that. But why would you do that? That just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So
there's nothing better right now for him.
Yeah,
there's nothing better.
He's settled, exactly. And then just sort of sticking on the Liverpool contract thing, as we discussed, is as of January 1st, this is when players who have their contract expiring in July or June, July time, they can officially start to pre-register with teams, i.e. they can sign contract with teams. And so the other one that just doesn't seem to be, for me, which is quite alarming if I was a Liverpool fan, is the Trent Alexander-Arnold contract. That's not sort of come up too much or not been spoken about too much. Again, I know I've mentioned this before, but I don't think he stays. I think he signs a pre-contract, and I think he goes to Real Madrid and plays with his mate Jude Bellingham.
Well, one of the big three out of Liverpool, right? That trifecta of Van Dijk, Arnold, and Salah probably has to go.
I agree.
Because even though Liverpool is not the biggest spender and sitting high in that, the economics behind what they need to do, and also retain all of this other really important, supporting cast. And let's not forget, Liverpool is not a one-person team.
Mm-mm.
They are a team of 16, of 17 that can rotate in. And so maintaining that. And Alexander-Arnold, I think 3 years ago, was critical and essential.
Mm-hmm.
He is still important, but he is no longer critical and essential. The team, I think, could function without him. There are other people who could fill in a lot of that slots. Now, that's not to take away from his work rate or his ability or his skill, other than the fact that, please, half of his corners were just not good last game. If you had to nitpick on things, he kept hitting them low and right into that front line, not near post defense. To be fair, I think he was trying to thread the needle into a very specific area for people, but still, it's like it wasn't quite at the same level of quality that Trent displayed.
It definitely is defensive sort of insecurities or inabilities have also been sort of highlighted as well. So
they have. He's gotten better, much better.
Yeah,
but still.
I agree. And then, Van Dijk, you'd probably want to keep because the captain, and again, like give him another 2-year contract and have him stick around.
Totally.
See sort of out. So
let him hoist the trophy. Let him then make his move off and get himself a player manager position or do whatever he needs to do for his next phase. Right.
So it looks like Liverpool Premier League champions, manager of the year Arne Slot, and player of the year Mo Salah. It looks like there's they could be cleaning up.
Not to be the Grinch, but there's a lot of football left to play,
There's still a lot.
And you can still stumble, but they're in their their fate is in their hands, right? They own their destiny.
They do indeed. They do indeed. Okay, so let's move on there. Just looking sort of through the table, I think the surprise, just looking at the table now as it stands, Nottingham Forest in third place. This is a romance. This is a romantic sort of sporting story. It's obviously not going to be the Leicester City level, but I mean, just would not have seen it. Did not see that.
No.
Wow.
Nobody did.
Yep.
Nobody did.
So
they had 10 wins. We didn't have 10 wins in the last 2 seasons combined.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. They were in the last 2 seasons at this exact same time, they were sitting 15th and 17th. Now they're sitting third. It's tricky to look at, right? Nottingham Forest was a cautionary tale in how not to spend. In the offseason, they would splash out a lot of cash and they were buying all these players and they're doing all this, but there never seemed to be a cohesion. Well, there's a cohesion now, and I think the cohesion can be credited to Nuno.
Yeah.
Like their manager has taken all of this sort of hodgepodge and large cash expenditures, and he's forging them into a unit.
Yeah.
It's working.
It's created a team almost in a way, right? He's created
That's right.
Absolute team, which is just
yes.
And it's because it's Nuno Gomez, isn't it? He was the Wolves manager.
No, Nuno Espirito Santo.
De Santos. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. Nuno Espirito.
Yeah, the former Wolves manager. So he was manager of Wolves,
and then
he was manager of Tottenham. And for like a brief blip,
yeah, like 3 months, and then he got the sack and got canned. So
yeah,
it just shows sometimes it's the club and maybe not the personnel and the manager and this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did wonders at Wolves. I mean, his performance at Wolves was, what was completely spectacular. There was no, he just left because there were other opportunities. I think Tottenham poached him. If I recall correctly,
poached him and paid big money for him, and he looked at it as a big club, and it just didn't work out. I mean,
yeah.
And so while we're on the topic of new managers coming in and sort of turning things around, working. I mean, this is a Manchester part of the conversation, but Manchester United, it's I don't want to say it's a crisis, but if you look at their form guide, the last 5 games, they've won 1 in their last 5 and then lost the other 4. And that win was against Man City. So it's not a pretty time in Manchester right now. It really is not.
No.
It's scary.
You
will not see the end of the season if this form continues.
Probably not. And Gary, you and I talked about this, and I said, financials aside, this was the worst decision that Ruben made
on an individual basis.
From a career perspective, his stock as a manager is plummeting right now. Now, if he could turn them around, it will rise back up again. But at the current time,
it's not looking good. You're right. He was in the Champions League with probably one of the hottest strikers in Europe, and obviously Sporting Lisbon doing well, riding high at the top of the Portuguese league. And he's again at this level. I don't think it's about money, right? He was a professional player. He's obviously sort of looked after. So these are not money decisions. If it doesn't work out, he'll get a payout. But Man United have a big problem, and so
big problem.
And so I'm sure there was probably during the interview process, there must have been conversations about, looking at this squad, we need to shake up this squad completely. Like there's players like Anthony in there who came from obviously your beloved Ajax, and he was a star there. And Ten Hag brought all his boys over.
He's no Ajax kid.
Yeah,
sorry.
He brought them over, and he just doesn't even feature anymore. He's not there, so he's going to be obviously looking for a new club in January, and so there'll be a lot of outgoings, but there'll probably be a lot of incomings. And if you're a selling club now, and Manchester United come calling for one of your players, it's you can really gouge their eyes out and jack up the price here. They're gonna overpay for some players, that's for sure. And it's not like they haven't been doing that historically either as well. So there's going to be no change there, right? They're going to continue to overpay.
Yeah, where are they now? So they're at 14th right now, right?
14th, yeah.
More losses than wins.
Yeah.
Negative goal differential. Right? 22 points. They're above Everton which just by those words alone should hurt every single individual in Manchester, regardless of whether you wear blue or red.
Yeah.
The next team after them is Crystal Palace. So yeah, Man U fans, y'all suck, and your team sucks. I mean, ouch.
It's really, really interesting. And so you can imagine there's going to be some big players going out there as well. Rashford is obviously the big one that clearly he's been.
Well, we know he's gone. He's gone.
And so I think last time he goes to PSG, I think PSG have always been admirers for him. There's rumors that Arsenal is interested in Arsenal, and Arsenal need a striker, and is he a striker? So that will be an interesting one.
No, it depends on how bad Saka's hurt. I could see if Saka's out for a long, extended period of time because of his injury, that a Rashford, when you look at them, you're like, oh, that could. But no, that wouldn't make any sense. Besides, Man U would charge a premium to another Premier League club to take him.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas if he goes outside of Premier League, they don't have to worry about facing him, because I'll tell you something. If I was Marcus Rashford and I was on a Premier League club, that's all I would ever want to do. I'd be like so fired up to score.
Play me against Man.
So no, I think you're right. I don't know if it's PSG or some other, but I do think he leaves England. He goes to the continent, and that would be a smart. I think that would be a shrewd move. I don't know how much Man U is going to get for him. His stock's not very high right now.
Yeah. He's got potential, but yeah. And he's on big wages as well. And he's on a big salary.
He's on massive wages. So really what they want to do is they just want somebody who's going to take on the wage bill.
They could take him off the books, right?
And they may not make a lot of, their transfer fee could be relatively low.
Yeah.
Because if I was, here's the thing. It's like, hey, if I'm in the negotiating table, I'm going, hey, you could sit on your 306,000 quid a week, or I'll take that off of you, but I don't want we're not talk transfer fee.
Or we'll give you,
you're going to be nice.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to be nice, and you're going to just like, let it go.
Yeah.
Maybe a token fee or something like that for the agent.
It's possible. I mean, again, also it looks like Garnacho as well, which again, like from everything that I've heard, this kid is really, really sort of the next generation of Argentinian wonder kids coming through. But again, he just seems to have completely fallen off. And again, didn't start yesterday again. How long he plays for, we'll see. But I mean, it's interesting. Hey, it is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So that there's going to be.
I've never been a fan of Garnacho. I mean, he's a good player. Like tactically, I think he's extremely skilled. But it just he doesn't have there's no depth in that kid.
The panache there for you, is the with that.
Oh no, there's panache, but you gotta back it up. Right,
back it up.
Panache is great, but veneer is thin, and he's all veneer.
He's all veneer and highlights.
He's all veneer. Yeah.
And then speaking about transfer business, I mean, obviously the other side of blue side of Manchester as well. Another draw, dropping points. They are sinking like a stone. I mean, again, if you look at Man City's win, it makes Manchester United's also, they're just both as bad as each other, which is as a non-Manchester City or United fan, it's great to watch. But I mean, that yesterday, they had the penalty, they missed it.
It should have been signed, sealed, delivered, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, let's give some credit to Pickford. He's from Sutherland, right? I mean, he's from Sunderland. He's from that Yorkshire area around Sunderland.
Northeast,
right?
Not Yorkshire,
Northeast. Like he's like, what a little shithouser he was.
What
with that whole Haka thing and that.
Learning from Emi Martinez almost in a way.
Just like,
got in his head. Hey,
it got in his head because he completely. Did you see the picture of his water bottle?
No,
right. And this is not an uncommon thing. All goalkeepers, right? All goalkeepers, their water bottle have penalty stats for every player because they prepare for this stuff, right? There's a person's job at a club to analyze that stuff and make stickers and put it on the goalkeeper's water bottle before every game.
Yeah. And
so of course he's looking at his water bottle, doing his little thing, but he called that 100%, and it wasn't a well taken penalty. And then, of course, he kept himself in an offside position for the follow-up. He didn't track back. So, really, it was a double mistake. I feel bad for fantasy people who captained Holland.
He has gone on a
Because
drought. That is, he has not scored in a long time. I don't know the exact number.
no, but not only did he not score, but with the negatives
Missed
that you
penalty,
get, you
yeah,
double
with
the negatives. I mean, you were getting negative points for the guy.
with the missed
Oh,
penalty, yeah. Well, I'm sure he's going
the
to.
only person who got lower points is Bruno Fernandes.
Well, because he
Back
got
to
sent off.
Manchester.
Yeah, this is yeah. Well, it again. What does I know we've sort of talked about this a lot, so we don't need to spend huge amounts of time on it. But Pep, he's what does he do here? Right, he's got an opportunity with a transfer window coming up, so maybe he can bring some players and try and arrest the decline. But
I mean, listen, City's playing Leicester next week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh no. Wait, sorry. I'm on the wrong
you're
thing.
Right.
I'm looking at the second league.
No, Sunday. Yeah. No, Sunday the 29th. City are playing Leicester in the first game. Yes.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yes, you're right.
Well, I mean, there it is. There's your cure.
That will be.
If they can't get full points against Leicester, game over. I'm sorry.
Well, what do you mean by?
I mean, I would have said the same. I would have said the same thing about Everton.
Yeah.
But now Everton twice in a row. Twice in a row.
Taken points.
They have taken points off of a superior team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A far superior team.
Didn't you pull out in your article they've got one of the best defenses in Europe, I believe. They've only let in 22 goals or something like that, which is
something like that. I didn't mention their defensive record, but they are stingy. They are stingy. They're also incapable of scoring, but still, yeah, they are sixth in the league in terms of goals conceded.
They've only won 3 games this season and drawn 8. That just shows they've drawn.
That is, well, them and Palace, right?
That's it, yeah, with Palace as well, yeah.
When you're in a relegation battle,
points is a lot of points.
Are the draws are your lifeline.
They save you. You're
you
absolutely.
do need to get wins, right?
You'll
need to get wins. They're critical, but you can survive spells with draws until you can get that one win to boost you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're quite stingy.
Yeah,
they're quite stingy. Yeah, Newcastle and Bournemouth have both conceded 21.
Yeah,
Chelsea's in that same group. Forest 19.
Good defense. Just good defense. Hey, good defense.
Good defense. And Forest aren't blowing teams away. They've only scored 20.
Yeah. So they wouldn't type 1-0, 2-1. Yeah.
I mean, Wolverhampton has scored 29. So Wolverhampton's scoring goals. Yeah. That's not Wolverhampton's problem. Their problem is conceding goals.
That's true.
Right?
Well, and then speaking of conceding goals, just look at it the other way as well. So we're saying, obviously, sort of if you are stingy on the defensive side, okay, you're in good shape. If you look at Tottenham, on the other hand, they've scored the second most amount of goals with 39, but they've obviously sort of leaking so many at the back as well. And with 26. And I hate to say this because I really like him, but I think Postecoglou, I don't think he sees the end of this season as a Tottenham manager. I think
if the games continue the way it is, and the worst part about Tottenham is that you never know you don't know which Tottenham's showing up.
Yeah, you get entertaining.
Is it going to be
roll Tottenham? Yeah,
exactly. Is it that big goal Tottenham, or is it crappy disjointed Tottenham? And right now, crappy disjointed Spurs is winning way too much. They're the ones that are showing up, and players doing stupid things like getting dissent yellows, and then when they go in for a tackle, it's just like, I mean, the dissent yellow.
Yeah.
Listen, I gotta say, the dissent yellow is the dumbest thing since the taking your shirt off yellow. Right? I mean, if it's the end of the game, 5th minute, you take your shirt off to celebrate, you get a yellow. I understand that. The
emotions
fine.
Yes.
Emotions are running high. But I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
There are 2 things that if you kick the ball away in a dumb way, you're going to get a yellow. If you take your shirt off, you're going to get a yellow. If you yell at the referee like that, you're going to get a yellow. I was shocked that Bruno Fernandes, when he went up to the referee and got up in his face like that in that game, that he didn't just get a second yellow right there.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, that yellow that he got was soft as hell, the first one.
True.
And that referee in that game was calling all kinds of very soft, niddling little shove fouls and giving yellows for them, but he was consistent.
Yep.
Give him that. But I really thought that game was going to end with 9 players on each side on the field, the way he was giving out cards for soft shit. I was like, oh my God.
Giving them out like it was Christmas. Giving them out like.
Right?
Yeah. So can I
anyway, but yeah, so but yeah, like to get back to where we were, right? You gotta be smart on this stuff, right? And with Spurs, I just don't see any. Son looks miserable. He's just not really doing anything. The only player that is that Brendan Johnson kid, right?
Yeah.
He seems to be sparky and lively and all that. And
Looks good.
nobody else seems to want to be there.
No, it feels to me, because essentially the way Spurs play is this Ange ball, as they call it, which is high line, high press, high intensity. And it works if you have the players and the talent. But again, Postecoglou seems to be like Southampton were before they fired their manager, which they were just married to this style of play, and he will not let it go, and he will not adapt to it. Whereas Southampton were always, let's play out from the back, and they were just terrible at it, and they just get the ball taken off and just go and concede goals and they're going to get relegated for it. Postecoglou as well, and you can see in the press conferences, he is getting it from the media, and he's under pressure, and he's a good manager because he's kind of taking it all himself. He's not really blaming some of the players. There've been a few comments where he sort of, called out a few players, saying, I think he called out team.
Well, he's called out the team.
He's
calling them out for lack of effort or something like this. He's not singling out not singling out individuals. But yes, he can be critical of effort.
Yeah, could be. But again, Postecoglou, he has his style of play. He's married to it, and he is not going to change it as well. So I think he goes down with that ship. And as I said, I don't think he finishes the season as the Spurs manager. I think he's probably the next favorite to get the end.
There are so many people who could get the axe right now, and the shocking thing is that, like, how many we've already seen 3 get the axe.
3, yeah, and we're not done yet.
Right?
So it's a brutal.
We're not done yet.
Yeah,
but let's give a little shout out to, because I have it here on my notes here. I'd like to give a shout out to Wolverhampton, who I have always said were a team that when they were down in the bottom 3 didn't necessarily deserve to be there. That they were a better team than bottom 3. And now that they have that new manager, right? So Vitor Pereira is in the helm.
Yes.
And he seems to be steering, like, so he took them on an away game. He took them on an away fixture, got a win. Brought them home, got a win. And a good win, a decisive win. I mean, they really outplayed United on almost every level. That second goal that came in was just such a beautiful coda to that game. Right? When the Manchester's desperately throwing everybody up, and then boom, Kuti just sneaks right down that back and draws the keeper out, and without so much as a Bob's your uncle, right? Just slots it across, and it's a beautiful. I mean, it's just, what a beautiful way to end it, and so, I mean, good for them. Good for them. And managerial bump, that's how you do a managerial bump. That is the bounce.
That is the bounce.
Leicester is how you do not do a managerial bump, right? And there were a lot of people who were critical when they appointed Brood. They said it was a knee-jerk appointment.
Yeah.
That they were looking for a big name. They were looking for something flashy. He didn't have enough experience. And they were right.
Yeah.
Brood has not been able to form any real...
Just no momentum. Bounce, losing 3 on the...
There's nothing there.
Yep.
No, and he's not, and nothing's changing. They're still doing the same old, right? It's like, oh, Vardy's gone, and they were, aside from that one brief moment with Ayew, there was nothing. I mean, they were completely and utterly not present in the second half at all.
Yeah, they definitely didn't sort of come together, and so it does look like, I agree. For me, I get the feeling, if we're just looking at the bottom 3, Southampton are gone. I think
that's done. Southampton's done.
They've been. It's one of my favorite movies is Master and Commander with Russell Crowe, and there's the scene where one of the sailors is on a raft, and basically the raft is sort of still anchored to the main ship, and it's pulling them down, and basically he just chops the rope, and it just gets cast off. Those guys have just drifted out of the horizon, and they are gone. Ipswich seem to have one of these yo-yo teams, right, where they go down and then they come back up, which they don't look to it. And so, again, I think there's still a bit of a dogfight between Leicester, Wolves. I think your beloved Palace will be fine. They seem to be sort of like getting some runs, sort of a run of form together, which is good.
Yeah, I have confidence that I also said that Palace was one of those teams that when they were in the bottom 3 didn't necessarily deserve to be there. But I'm emotional about that, not logical or clinical about that. Yeah, we'll see, right? I think it could happen.
Yeah.
That was without a doubt the dullest game of Boxing Day.
It was.
I mean, God, awful.
It was.
It was just awful to watch. But hey, a point's a point, so I'll take it.
You take them and get them. And I think the other one as well that's probably worth calling out for me as well is Newcastle definitely seem to be sort of stringing together a little run. I know they've won the last 3 games.
Yes,
they have. Their striker Isaac has been suddenly he's found a vein of form which is really, really helping them.
Isaac is an amazing. He is a. You talk about yo-yo teams. He's a yo-yo player. He has these moments where he is capable of incredible execution and vision. But not surprised by that. I'm not surprised by Newcastle being able to do that.
There'll be that. Bournemouth have really surprised me. Bournemouth have also looked really, really impressive.
Right. Which is why I thought the Crystal Palace result was so good, because they're going to Bournemouth, and Bournemouth has been and they are a dangerous team, extraordinarily dangerous team. Palace was able to absorb all that, right? We had Munoz back, which was huge, because he actually was the one bright spark that we had that was creating opportunity. They were just able to absorb and hold, and that was big, really big, right, for them. Yeah. And then of course, I have to say, why would anybody take the Southampton managerial job? Honestly, I think Ivan Juric, it has been trying to get a Premiership appointment, Premier League appointment for like a dozen years.
Yeah.
And has come close a couple of times. I think that guy's just desperate to go in and get he's resume padding.
Put him on. I'm sure the conversation had to be, look, I'll take this gig, but look, we're probably going to go down. I'll do everything to save us, but if not, we go down, and then I stick around and I bring them back up. That's probably.
I think you're right. I think that he didn't sign to keep them up. He signed to bring them back up.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. So he's, we'll have to wait and see. Although I mean, listen, I thought Southampton were unlucky. They were the better team in the first half of that game. They had the best opportunities. They just didn't get them in. And you could just see George on the sidelines going, dude. Oh. Of course, he's doing it in Croatian, which I can't do. But anyway, Yeah.
So looking through on the sort of the next fixtures, we've got Arsenal coming up against Ipswich today. And I think Arsenal probably you'd expect Arsenal to win that one comfortably, although it will be interesting.
You'd expect it, yeah.
It will be interesting without Saka, obviously, because I don't know what the injury exactly. I don't know if it was a hamstring or he's so that if it is a hamstring, I think it's that's up to 4 weeks as well. So that's going to be a big miss for them. And so we'll sort of see. And again, I think, they'll probably do a bit of shopping in January. Brighton Brentford's going to be an interesting sort of like upper mid-table clash. But then as we get into the Sunday fixtures on the 29th before New Year's, we've got Leicester Man City, as you mentioned. You touched on that one. That will be an interesting one for City, whether they can get over that.
I think that's City's bounce. Yeah. It has to be, right? I mean, and if you're Pep, you recognize that is an absolute must win. You have to win that game.
I think we've been saying this for the last 5, 6, 7 game weeks as well. Where it's like, it's going to turn around. He's going to turn around. He's going to turn around, and it just keeps.
No, I'm not saying that he's going to turn around.
No,
but it's just a must. It's a must win.
Yeah.
You have to win that game.
Yeah,
have to.
And then just looking through some of the other ones, obviously, I think Liverpool, West Ham again, Liverpool away. You'd expect Liverpool again just to calmly and coolly just go there and sort of do the business. We've got some.
It won't be splashy, I think, but it won't be splashy, but it will be a win.
It will be. If you're Palace and you're playing against Southampton, you look at that and think, okay, that's another way to put 3 points on the board and sort of get further away from the relegation zone and just ensure Premier League survival.
That is a must. Again, for Palace, that is a must win. You gotta get the 3 points against every team you play that is anywhere in the bottom half. You've got to at least get a draw.
Yeah.
Or 3 points.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you know what I think is always very interesting and very telling as well is the way the Premier League structure the fixtures in terms of sort of which games they put, basically the games that they put as the most important, they obviously put later in the day, both on the Saturday and the Sunday, because it gets a bigger television audience and TV rights and those things. So what's interesting of course, on the Saturday on the 29th, you obviously have Liverpool as the last game. Of course, Liverpool are rocking. Everyone wants to go and see them. But the other side of the coin is the next day is you have Man U are playing on the last game, Man U, Newcastle, and Old Trafford. So again, this is where the TV license of the TV companies and sort of the sports broadcasters all just want to keep watching this this train smash that is Manchester United just continue to lose. And so the idea is, I imagine they're expecting Newcastle to go there and just steamroll Man United with the form that they found, and obviously sort of Man U sort of struggling as well. So it will be fun to see Newcastle United. That will definitely be a fun game worth watching for sure.
That will be. Are we deliberately avoiding talking about Chelsea because you're feeling a little, put out? I mean,
definitely licking my wounds.
I mean, are you okay? Do I need a wellness check for Chelsea fans after last week? Or
it brought up some post-traumatic or sort of post-traumatic stress of the last 2.5 years, where I was watching it and thinking, okay, here we go. If we win this, we're a point behind Liverpool. They've got to play, but we'll be sort of, again, it kind of goes back to this Maresca. We're not in the title race, and I think clearly it's evident Chelsea are not in the title race. While they are doing very well, but that game was just one of those classic Premier League games. I saw it coming where they kind of went 1-0 up. It just wasn't clicking amongst all the players. Jackson was just in the wrong position. Cole Palmer with a great goal, of course. But just all of them, the way they were playing, they just didn't seem to have any directness or sense of urgency. As many people have said in the Premier League, if one of these, there's no game is guaranteed. If you're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go, you could still lose it quite easily. And it was
absolutely
a Premier League game where
it's the worst score line. In my opinion, 1-0 up is without a doubt the tensest score line. You never want your team 1-0 up.
Exactly, because they'll come back, and then once they get back in the momentum, and this is why Liverpool looked so good, was even when they went 1-0 down and they went 1-0 up, and then they went 1-1, and then 2-1, and then they got that second goal just to sort of get that daylight. Again, that's where you can breathe. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
it was again, I think in a good position. What's interesting is, as you mentioned, Forest 1 point behind Chelsea. Yeah, it didn't bring them up particularly because it wasn't the best day at the office, that's for sure. So definitely probably had a little bit too much Christmas food, but yeah. Chelsea will be, playing against Ipswich again. You'd expect that one to sort of, to pick up 3 points.
Yeah, that should. Although they were playing Ipswich at home, which, well, then again, I forgot. Ipswich haven't won at home yet. I would have actually thought that Ipswich being at home, small, confined field, real intense, like pressure cooker atmosphere, but they have not found that form, and so that actually might be to Chelsea's benefit, which is one of the reasons why. Upset prediction of the week. I think Ipswich is going to take a point against Arsenal.
Against Arsenal. Oh, that is a good call actually, and I think
I do think that this afternoon Ipswich could steal a point against Arsenal.
They could nick a point off Arsenal again. It's these, as you've said many times, the crucible. This is the period as well. Like
this is it.
Come through the best. Come out of the best of this in the best position. Really do set themselves up, and yeah, it's a good shout. That's definitely worth shouting, and I would actually have a feeling again. Chelsea, they're not like Tottenham, but they're
nothing like Tottenham. Even I, with all of my Chelsea, I don't hate Chelsea, but they're not one of my favorites. Even I cannot compare Chelsea to Tottenham. I think that's totally unfair. Well, it's completely unfair.
I just think there's still some inconsistency with Chelsea. I know they've been on sort of quite a bit of a run of wins. But there was that one way they just, you knew it was coming, where they can't just keep winning the way Liverpool are just dominating and winning. So it had to come, and we'll see again how they reacted. The big question here. So we'll see what happens. They've got this again. I think from the transfer window perspective, which I'm fascinated about, Chelsea have always been the big spenders over the last 4 transfer windows. I think they'll probably have more outgoings and no incomings this time. So it'll be interesting to see what they do.
They want to get their FFP ship a little bit righter.
Yeah.
And Chelsea is not, they don't seem to have any glaring omissions.
They need a goalkeeper. That is one thing for sure.
True. But
they need a goalkeeper, which is ironic because they own the world's most expensive goalkeeper in Kepa, playing for Bournemouth. And he was in the team of the week 2 weeks ago, and he seems to be playing really well. So all of a sudden he's found his form. So there's an option there if you want for sort of the FFP side, is to just bring him back and get him back in the squad. True. But again, they need a goalkeeper, and they probably need a striker, just even though they're scoring a lot of goals. So that would be sort of hard.
Yeah, but goalkeepers aren't terribly expensive. I mean, when you're looking at transfers, right? Kepa aside, unless you're making a play for, Mashvili, right? The Georgian goalkeeper who became a big sensation during the Euros, or you're making a play for a marquee keeper, for a big,
big name. Yeah. You don't. Yeah. No. Yeah, and that's the thing. And I think they've got like 6 goalkeepers on their skin squad. Some of the So
right.
it's
And
really,
none of them are good enough.
and that's the best one they've got is Sanchez, who just does not look like he's fit for it. So I think they probably need a goalkeeper. And this is interesting now as we get into, as you say, that transfer window. There's going to be some interesting deals that are going to come out. So I think just sort of going around, I think we can probably agree that Rashford has gone out of United, as we discussed.
Oh yeah.
City are going to go shopping. I mean, where City probably go and buy a centre back, go and buy a defender or two, maybe just to shore up their squad, maybe another defensive midfielder. I don't think they need maybe a striker, because Haaland is just the only striker that they've got. That other striker they signed, Sabinho, has not scored a goal, although he looked quite good. They've scored, and I'm just trying to sort of think around. Liverpool are probably good. They're in sort of good shape. They just need to get their contract stuff sorted, unless Trent signs a pre-contract and sort of sticks his two fingers up and says I'm gone. But that will be interesting to see where that comes out. So
yeah, I think Palace probably make a move. I think Palace are gonna I mean, they have offloaded and loaned out a number of players, but I think that you're gonna see Palace probably. I think Gahey.
interesting.
I do think that, well, because here's the thing. There's a lot of interest in him. He has not done anything so far to have devalued his stock significantly. With Lacroix coming in and actually sort of exceeding expectations for someone so new into the Premier League and really performing well, they have a question. I don't think they're actively looking to sell him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if someone comes in north of 55 million quid,
Mm-hmm.
they have to sell him. Like, they have to look at everything and go, hey, wait a minute. This might be the time for us to,
I could see City coming in for him as well. That would plug that gap.
And I thank you. That's exactly where I was going with this, is that they could look to get him in there because he does represent fresher legs,
Solid
right?
Premier League experience, youth.
Solid Premier League experience, and possibly can slot into the six in some case, like in limited capacities, might be able to fill that role.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So,
I think
that's my hot take of the transfer.
No, I could see that happening for sure. I see Arsenal going for a striker. Arsenal definitely have to go and look for a striker by the looks of it.
Sure.
I think they'll probably go in for Rashford. It just depends on if they want to pay whatever, and then you're going to ask them whether they can compete against PSG. But they'll probably have to find a striker. I know there's talk of Chelsea have got this other striker, Nkunku, who just can't start. So he just goes and starts all the Europa League games. So I can see him also. Again, Arsenal have Raheem Sterling on loan from Chelsea. Again, another player who's earning $300,000 a week, and he just doesn't seem to start. I don't know if he's injured or what's going on there, but I can see Chelsea doing another dodgy bit of business where they seem to buy all these mega stars, put them on big money, and then just loan them out to competing clubs. Kepa is a prime example, as well as Raheem Sterling and some of these other players. So we'll see what happens. But City, I think, defenders, just looking around as well. Newcastle look good up top. I mean, Anthony Gordon's goal yesterday was fantastic. So,
it's lovely.
That was beautiful,
stunning.
I'm just looking around some of the others, sort of like
Gordon just needs to become consistent. He has flashes.
Yeah,
he's flashy. He has flashes. He's brilliant. Everybody knows it.
Yeah,
he just doesn't always. He's just not always present.
Just not always there, right? Not always on it all the time, right? And then it'll be interesting to see again what sort of deals can be done. This is where you're like, if you're in the sort of bottom half of the table, like this is where you could also go and pick up some loan deals, and you can go and sort of, again, go and get some players from teams that are not starting, but are good enough to be sort of in a bigger team squad. So you can sort of do some smart business here. So
yeah, that's the way to play it, in my opinion. Do the loan, and then maybe try to seal the deal in the summer window.
That's it.
Smart.
Wonderful. Well, I think that brings us nicely to another beautiful afternoon of football, soccer that we'll be watching this afternoon, and then a few days off.
Indeed.
More of your beloved Crucible era as well. So it's exciting. And then we get European competitions back going again as well in the next week or so, which is exciting finally because
the January 11th, I believe, something along those lines for Champions League.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that week. And then
the Champions League sort of you've got, and then what's interesting as well with the Champions League coming up as well, you're going to have, I think you have 2 more game weeks, and then there's a knockout phase. Oh, look at this feature that's happening. And then you have the knockout phase as well. So it'll be interesting to see who gets in. So we can get back to European business.
I mean, the next 2 weeks of Champions League are really important.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got it's going to be good. It's going to be great, actually. It's going to be a lot of fun.
January the 21st is actually when the Champions League picks back up again as well. So you've got some interesting games coming there. We'll cover that as we get closer to it.
That's right.
But it will be interesting. Look at that. You've got PSG against Man City. That's on the 22nd. That is both teams struggling in the Champions League, and obviously City also as well, the Premier League as well. So that will be definitely a game worth watching for sure. So
and then of course on the 28th, I believe it's the 28th, or that's 29th, is the final day where they have all the competitions all kicking off at the same time.
Everything, everywhere, all at once, and that the Golazo show that will be.
That is correct. Yeah,
indeed. Wonderful. Okay, well, Qooligan, as always, a pleasure.
Mr. Striker, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
Merry Christmas indeed, and we'll see you on the other side for the next game week.
Indeed. Go Ipswich.